Everybody has a story, but not all stories have been told. This is Benson the Storyteller, and these are some of my untold stories. There's a pond over here. Yeah guys, this is where I am today. So on my previous video I was telling you guys a story about some of my schoolmates, two boys in particular, one who was nicknamed the Lion Killer of Kikorok, and the other one was called Henry Bondo, but I used to call him Luanda Magere, and he was the head boy of the school. Now today, I want to give you guys another story about something that happened in the school. So, as I told you guys before, our school bordered Nairobi National Park, and it also bordered, it was also close to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, which is the biggest airport, I'd say, in East Africa. And also, our school bordered the Administration Police Training College, where the administration police are taken to go and train, and where they pass out from and are posted to other places. Now, our school bordered the national park on three sides, okay? And it was only on one side that our school bordered the administration police camp. Now, our school compound was extremely big. It was very, very big. And I think they'd planned, it wasn't just planned to be a school compound. I think there were several things that were supposed to be built within that specific area, that compound. Because later on I saw they put a secondary school, Utawala Secondary School, which wasn't there before. They've put, I think it's a church, which wasn't there before. And there's some other structures which I'm not sure exactly what they were. But by the time I was in that school, the whole compound had just the school. And it was, most of the compound there was, it was just savanna grassland, you know. It was just savanna grassland and maybe occasional acacia trees. Our school was moderately, I think it was in the middle of the whole compound. And on one side you could see Mount Kilimambogo, on the other side you could barely see Nairobi City. On the other side it was just the national park, and on one side it was the Administration Police Training College. Now, if you wanted to go to our school, you had to pass through the gate of the Administration Police College, pass by, there's a big tarmacked area where they do their passing out parade. You pass through there, and then you get through the gate that leads you into the school compound. All right, and it's a distance from there to where the school is. Now, our school kind of our school fence on the side that it bordered the administration police overlapped, you know. It went into the national park, like the end of the fence that we shared with the administration police. Once you got there, you extended, the compound extended into the national park. Now, on that part that there was an extension, there was a small gate left, there was a small gap in the fence. And I think when they were fencing the school, they'd left that particular place so that it would be the entrance, you know, to whatever it was that they were planning on building inside this compound. So that gap in the fence didn't have a gate. All right, it was open, and I remember inside the compound of our school, some of the I later on came to find out that some rich, influential people in the government used to bring their cows. You know, they were grade cows, really big. I mean, those cows, there was one, I remember there's one particular dairy cow that was called Daisy, and it had a tag on its ear. And it was extremely big. It was, I mean, it would be the size of like two cows put together. And they would roam freely within the school compound. And there's a truck that used to come, picks them, takes them away, and sometimes brings them back and just let them free roam within the school compound. Now, within that same compound, I remember there's this combined harvest, I think. This one that comes, it cuts grass, and then at the end, it bales them into rectangles and drops them down as it goes. I'm not sure the name of that machine, but it was like the very first time that we'd ever seen a machine like that. And it was also brought there by these influential people. You know, it was a free grassland, you know, and they could get grass hay, and then they'd do that, and then they'd take the hay, probably sell it, probably take to the other farms. And basically, those were the only things that happened within that compound besides our school. I remember occasionally also some of the administration police trainees would be brought inside our school compound, but then they would be taken for a marathon round the perimeter of our fence, like round our school. And I remember it was kind of funny because sometimes you'd find that the inspectors, the police inspector, would be on a bicycle, and he'd be running after the trainees. He'd be running past after, just behind them, and whipping them on the bums with his stick. The inspector had this black kind of stick cane with a silver tip at the end. Yeah, and he'd be on a bicycle, but we call them kurutu. But this trainee, the administration police, the trainees would be jogging and running, and he'd be behind them, smacking them, you know, on the bums, telling them to run faster, you know. And basically, that's the most exciting things that happened within our school compound. You know, we had the cows grazing there. We'd have that combined harvester come in once a while, and maybe sometimes we'd see the police trainees running around the perimeter of our school fence. And basically, that was the most excitement, you know, that happened within our quiet environs. Now, one day, I remember it had to be during a week. It had to be during a weekend, yeah. Either it was after church, after inspection, or just after we'd done our cleaning, you know, which is usually on Sundays, I think. It was either a Sunday or a Saturday. So we were in the school compound, you know, just chilling. We had no classes. I remember I was the sides of the dormitory, just next to where the boys' dormitories are. And I remember there's this kid. He was in class 8. He was a tall, skinny kid, but he was very funny. You know, he really liked to joke around, and he was a really funny kid. Now, I remember as we were at as I was at the dormitory area, I hear this boy shouting, and he's pointing at the extreme end of the school compound, and then kids started gathering. So I went to check and see what's going on. And when I looked, I saw this thing, by that time I couldn't tell what it was, but there was something running along the fence on the extreme side of our compound. It was something like, I don't know, from where our buildings were to the fence would be, I don't know, it would be something like 700 meters, 500 meters. Our school compound was really big. So I had this boy, he was like, oh guys, let's go hunting. And then kids started gathering around. And before I knew it, guys were running through the savannah grass, they were running. So we all started running. We wanted to go see what it was. First of all, it started like curiosity. We just wanted to see what it was in our school compound. I told you, there's nothing much that ever used to happen in our school compound. So when we saw this thing, out of curiosity first, guys started running. And we were not allowed to go like even 100, even 50 meters from where our dorms were in the general school, the school buildings. Because just behind our dormitories is where the savannah grassland started. It was just grass, tall grass, brown, tall, grass, all the way to the fence with dots of acacia trees, shrubs and all that. So we started running, we didn't have classes, people were just idle. Then as we got closer, we realized that it was a wildebeest. All right? I don't know if you guys know what a wildebeest is. It's like, I think it would be the size of a horse, but the front part of it is bigger than the lower part, almost like a hyena, the bigger part, body at the front, and then the lower side is kind of smaller. So we're like, oh, that's a wildebeest. And then that boys, the older boys are like, let's go hunting. Then we started running after that wildebeest. Now, what had happened was this. I told you guys that the side of the school where we border with the administration police college, there's that side of the fence. Our fence, the school fence, overlaps. It goes on and leaves the administration police fence, and where it overlaps, there's a gap, and it had been left there so that they'd put a gate there, and it would be the entrance to our school compound, so we wouldn't have to go through the administration police camp. So what had happened was, there was a herd of wildebeest, and they were passing on the extreme end of our school. But then one of them somehow passed through that gap in the fence and got into our school compound. And it was just running parallel to the other wildebeest, the main herd of the wildebeest, which was on the other side of the fence. And it's like it didn't know it was on this side of the fence. So when it got to the end, it couldn't go any further because the school, the perimeter fence was all like a rectangle all the way around. So it got to the end. The rest of the herd went on, but it couldn't follow because it had reached the end of the school fence. So now it started pacing back and forth. It ran back alongside the fence, and then it went back. It was trying to like find its way out, but it couldn't. It was as easy as just going back to the small gap in the fence and going around, but animals, it wasn't bright enough to notice to guess that. So it was stuck inside our school compound. The rest of the herd had gone and then disappeared. They were running away and they're going. And this one started getting, excited and trying to find its way out. And so by the time we got there and the boys started chasing the wildebeest. It ran all the way to the corner, and then other kids were coming from the other side. Now the whole school had seen it. So kids were spread all over this part of the fence. So the wildebeest was running, trying to find its way out. And then it gets other kids over there. The kids chase it back. And then it comes back to where we were. And then we start chasing the poor animal. It runs all the... So, you know, people were getting stones, sticks, anything that you could find. We were throwing at the wildebeest, you know. Because these kids were like, that kid who started chasing this thing, they were like, no, we're hunting today. We are hunting for this wildebeest. We have to catch it, you know. So we chased that poor animal for hours. You know, we just chased it for hours. And I guess it started getting tired because when we were chasing it in this direction, it would, you know, because it runs fast, it would run away, and then guys who are chasing it on this side would rest. And then the other people who are waiting for it, the other students who are waiting for it there on the other end would catch up, you know, and start chasing it too. So there's a time it went back, you know, down towards the school. Other kids were there. It ran up, other kids were there. So there's totally no way it could escape. So eventually, after hours of running, the wildebeest got tired. And then it decided to try to force its way through the fence. So it just ran into the fence, and its horns got stuck into the fence, you know. And as it continued trying to force its way through, the more it did that, the more it got stuck. All right. And the school fence was this chicken wire fence, you know, the mesh type of fence. So there's no way it could get through. So as it was trying to force its way through, all the students converged around that wildebeest. And I'm telling you, we hit it with stones, people kicked it, people hit it with sticks, until we finally killed it. Now, you know, we started chasing. Initially guys had just gone there to see what it was. And then the chant changed to, oh, let's go hunting, let's kill it. And then after we killed it, guys were like, now, okay, so what are we going to do with it? Because first of all, whatever we are doing wasn't allowed, because we are not allowed to go past the dorms, the school, any of our structures, past into the school compound where there's savanna grass and everything. We are not allowed to go that far. So as we are gathered round, someone decided, the same boy, that funny boy, he said, okay, fine, guys, let's take this to school. You know, let's just take it to school. Now, the dining hall, from the dining hall, you could see where we were. All right. So I think the cooks in the dining hall, the subordinate staff, had been watching and seeing what the kids were doing, what we are doing. And when we eventually managed to catch up with the wildebeest and kill it, I remember 4 of them came, you know, the cooks. I can't remember their names, but 4 of them came, and they were like, so now you guys, what are your plans with this thing? You know, because I think maybe even them, they wanted to snatch it from us and go take it home and eat, and but it was a big thing. It's like a cow. It's big. So they said, they told us, okay, fine, you guys, let's do this. Let's take it back to school, and let's ask the headmaster if we can cook it for you guys. Then we're like, yeah. So we helped them carry everybody. You just grab the tail, the leg, whatever you could grab, the horns, and we dragged it. And on our way going back to the school, you see that gap I told you in the fence. This gap, if you go through the gap, you're outside of the school compound, but you get to the administration police gate. All right. You can also go through the gate and get back into our compound using another entrance inside the administration police. But from this other gap in the fence, the police had, the police manning, the administration police camp had the commotion. And they also left they left their posts and came to check on the school what was going on. So when they came, they found us exhibit. They found us with the wildebeest. We were carrying it to school, and they were like, "You guys, kids, do you know that it's illegal to kill any wild animal? You know these wild animals are the property of the Kenyan government, and you are not allowed." But then the students did give them, we didn't give them time to, we didn't give them time to say all that nonsense. We didn't want to listen to that. We were like, hii ni ya shule, meaning this belongs to the school, this belongs to the school. Then the two police administration policemen just looked at us, shook their heads and said, okay, and then inayo, go with it, take it to school. And they went back to the gate. So we carried it all the way to school. And as we got to the dining hall, we saw the headmaster was there. So he was waiting for us there. So we didn't know what to do. Some of us, wanted to run away. Some of us wanted to hide our faces. We were like, oh no, we're in trouble. But then when we got there, the headmaster, I remember, he was just amazed. He was like, you kids, you went and captured, you guys caught this animal. We are like, yes. Then he was like, okay, so what do you want to do with it? Then we were like, we want it cooked. We want the cooks to go and make it. Then the headmaster was, okay, fine. He told the cooks, go and make for the kids that wildebeest. And I remember it happened like, it was now afternoon, right? And the cooks took it and started preparing it. But on that same day, it was on that same day, once we took the wildebeest to the dining hall for the cooks to cook it. Now kids were just all over. Kids were just running around the school compound. We are like, now today we are just hunting. And the thing is, within our school compound, there were very many like wild animals. We had like rabbits. So any direction you go, even the time when we were chasing the wildebeest, you'd be running after it, and then you just see a rabbit jump out of a bush and take off. So that day we were like in the mood for hunting. We just wanted to run around the grass and all that. So we started hunting. I remember a chant started again. Catch it, a rabbit. We started chasing, we chased it all the way up to the corner again. And I remember there's this same tall boy. I can't remember his name. That boy was crazy. So the boy is running after it. It came towards where we were. I threw my leg like this, and I don't know if I hit it on the head. And then it started like running in circles. And this boy kicked that rabbit. He just went in the air and then came down. And then we took it, and we took it to the dining hall. I remember. And there's this one of the cooks. He said, okay, now this one has to be made. It's made differently. But at the end of the day, I never even got a piece of that rabbit. They did me that. Yeah, I didn't get it anyway. But anyway, so that evening, I remember the cooks made for us food, for the school food. But then it wasn't the wildebeest. Yeah. They'd already prepared the food that we were going to eat for supper at school, right? And by the time we took the wildebeest to the dining hall, they'd already prepared supper for the students. So I remember when we went to the dining hall, we had expected that we were going to get to eat the wildebeest. But then when we went, we found it was something else. It wasn't the wildebeest. So guys started complaining. Guys were like, no, they've stolen our wildebeest. They've stolen our food. We want the wildebeest, you know. And I remember one of the teachers on duty had to come and tell us, no, they'd already cooked your supper when you guys brought the wildebeest. So you're going to just have your supper as usual. And then later on, after the preps, you will come back and eat your wildebeest. So I remember that was the very, very first and last time that we had 2 suppers in one night. All right. We ate our usual supper. I just can't remember what it was, but it wasn't meat. It was something else. Maybe just ugali and kale, sukuma wiki, I think. So we ate, we went to class, and then the preps ended at around 9-10ish, and we had the dining bell ring. So from the classes, from the preps, we went again to the dining hall, and we were served meat. It was just meat alone, just the wildebeest meat, plain, you know. And I realized that that animal is big because it catered for the whole, the whole school. Now, what ended up happening now, the funny thing that ended up happening after this incident was that now students started getting comfortable, because when we went hunting, when we got the wildebeest and we also killed the rabbits, the headmaster didn't say anything, all right? He didn't really, he didn't encourage it, but he also didn't specifically tell us we are not allowed to go hunting or anything like that. So students started going hunting by themselves now, because now, once you've broken a rule, you've pushed, initially we are not allowed to go past 50 meters from the school into the grassland. But since we'd done that and the headmaster didn't say anything, we kind of thought, then it's fair game. I think we can just go hunting. We can just go, So students started every weekend. People would start just going into the savannah grassland like we are hunting, Until one particular day, there's a kid who was bitten by something in the grass. And another kid twisted their ankle, and they had to be taken to hospital, both of them. And from that day, in fact, that same day, because when this happened, some of us were still, spread out in the school compound. That compound was big. I mean, if you were at one end, you couldn't see who was on the other. They were like a dot, So I remember the headmaster called some prefects and said, get an exercise book, go round everywhere in the compound, and any student you find, write down their names, So some of us, we were deep inside the grasses, deep inside the savannah, doing our hunting, looking for rabbits, only to see these students moving around with an exercise book. We are wondering, what are these guys doing? What notes are they writing? We are like, oh, I think there's a rabbit somewhere. They're like, oh, there's a rabbit there. Okay. Oh, who are you with? Oh, I'm with so and so. We are, even who else? Oh, even so. Like we were just reporting ourselves, and then they were writing our names. That evening, there was an impromptu assembly, and names were being called. Benson, I don't know who, go to the staff room. I'm telling you, that day, some of us were caned. We were caned until we did not want to hear anything to do with hunting. Even that word we didn't want to hear. We were caned. And that's how that whole story of hunting ended. But then before it ended, it was really fun, because we, most of the time during the weekends, our school, it was a very strict school. From the dormitory, you go to the classes, you do your washing, you just sit there in groups next to the classes. But then for those few weeks, we got the chance to, just run around free in the compound like we are wild animals. And one other thing that I'd like to note about this whole thing, I'm very surprised how lucky us as students were during the time that we're in that school. Because you remember that gap I told you that was in the school fence? Yeah? Imagine on the other side is a national park. It's a national park with wild animals and all that stuff, right? And amazingly, because our preps end at 10, I think, and we had to walk from the administration where the classes were at night past the dining hall to the dormitory, which would probably be 200, maybe a 300-meter walk at night. And there was no occasion where any wild animal had entered the school, attacked anyone. It was just the grace of God. Because we were practically in the national park, and there was a big gap in our fence, and there were hyenas, there were lions, there were leopards. It was a national park. And amazingly, there had never been any incident of a wild animal venturing into our school at night and attacking any of the students. It's just amazing that never happened, because it was literally a national park on the other side of our fence, so crazy. So anyway, that is the story of how the hunters turned into the hunted, and we got into trouble. Yeah. So guys, if you're new, continue watching my video, and like, share, comment. And for those who are always regular viewers, thank you for the support, and continue watching. See you guys on the next video.